Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new Mattel Jurassic World Fierce Force figure to take a look at. This time it is a Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous release. We have the Monolophosaurus, another new paint variant of the Monolophosaurus, and I was really excited to see that they've used the older one. I wish they would kind of use the newer one actually as far as the sculpt goes, but give the newer one a little bit of a rehaul in the tooth department because the teeth are so bad on the newer one. The older one I think is the superior sculpt. So we have another new variant of the older one with a really bright, quite honestly appealing looking paint scheme for this one. Again, as per usual, kind of lazy paintwork, but at the same time I feel like this one might be a little bit better than some other recent, Mattel releases as far as the paintwork goes. But a little bit of sloppiness to this one as well that I can pick up on pretty much instantly. But as far as the box art goes, it's your standard when it comes to the Dino Escape line. And then here on the back, we have a sneak peek of what the action feature is, which at this point, if you have one of these Monolophosaurus already, you probably already know what the action feature is going to be. If not, you can clearly see it's a jaw-snapping feature. But then down here on the bottom, you can see the other figures in this wave of the Fierce Force, which is the Monolophosaurus, the Tanistropheus, both of which we've reviewed already, and then the other one is the Styracosaurus, which will be up here very soon. So let's pop this out of the box and head straight to a closer look. Now, this figure has been released in the Mattel line quite a few times already, so we're not reviewing the sculpt of this because we've reviewed it in the past. We really only need to take a look at what differentiates this one from previous releases, and that would be the coloration. So up here on the face, you can see we have some really nice dark reds that run up here over the top and then down into the eye socket area, kind of borders around the eye, also kind of leaks down in a few spots running down the front of the snout. I think that was a really nice way to give the Monolophosaurus some coloration there in the face, some flashy coloration, but in general the entire figure is a really bright green, so it kind of has a flashy appearance regardless of the reddish coloration. But I really do like the red there on the face. I think it plays off of the green nicely because the red is a darker tone of red and the primary green coloration is a nice lighter tone of green. As you move down to the lower jaw, you have kind of like a khaki type of a color, and you also have again the teeth painted very nicely with an off-white kind of bordering on a yellow. The teeth are maybe a little bit thick, I think, as far as the paintwork goes. You can see a little bit has run down there onto the tongue, but it could be worse. The eye is painted with a yellow and given a black pupil, but this is the area where I was stating has some sloppiness. As you can see, there's I guess it's the coloration from the teeth has kind of run up and splotched on top of the eye and all around the eye. So it really looks like a sloppy mess in the eye area of mine. If you turn it around and you look at it from this side, it looks way nicer. The eye is very nicely placed, very nicely painted. So it looks much more appealing over here. So if I were to, display this one, I would probably want to display it from this side out. But you also can see that we have some dark blue speckles that pick up here in the face, and I think the dark blue speckles look pretty cool in comparison to the greenish coloration. As you move down the course of the underside, you can see that this, I'm not sure if I would call that a khaki or like a light brown, but you can see that coloration here kind of runs throughout the entire course of the underside to the pelvic region. It would have, of course, been cooler to see it run out onto the tail, but I'm honestly impressed that it has run out that far because many times Mattel doesn't do that, so it was nice to see that on this one here. You can see the Jurassic Facts app code since we're down here if you would like to add this to your collection. You can also see some more of those bluish speckles picking up there on the underside of the feet. Now, once you lead down the course of the neck, you can actually see even a red speckle up here on one of those ridges. But as you lead down the course of the neck, you really only have that light coloration for the underside and the green up here, the primary body color of green, until you get down here into the body. Right at the bottom of the neck, you start to see that dark green pick up, and it is very abundant along the spinal column here of our Monolophosaurus, but then again tapers off right here before we ever reach the tail, of course. And then you can see that it just kind of splatters down the side and spots and speckles down the side of the Monolophosaurus, which I think if they would have used, actually, even though the blue kind of speckling looks cool, if they would have used a green speckling, like that same dark green, that would have looked cooler because it would have looked like this coloration was kind of just all over the figure. But again, it stops right here in the midsection of the dinosaur. You can see it starts here at the neck, ends before we even reach the tail. So as we reach out into the tail, of course, we have no paintwork at all other than the green and those kind of dark blue speckles. That's really about it. There is no nail paint or anything for our Monolophosaurus. So although it looks really cool, I honestly do really quite like the coloration. Of course, it's a little bit lazy as far as, not including paint out onto the tail and stuff, but again, at the same time, it looks lazy. It kind of looks like it's meant to look this way as far as it's not like some figures where they have lots of paintwork here and then it stops at the tail and the tail looks bare. It only picks up here and then stops here, so it looks like it's generally in that area only. So it kind of looks a little better than what you usually see from Mattel, but at the same time, again, it obviously is just a case of Mattel really hating to put paint out onto the tail of their figures. Regardless, I really actually like this color variant of the Monolophosaurus, and it's probably one of my favorites, I think, that has been released so far when it comes to this species. Now, as far as articulation goes on our Monolophosaurus, you can see we have articulation in the jaw. You'll probably see the tail wiggling back here because that's the action feature. We have articulation in the arms, forward and back, out away from the body, as usual. Leg articulation forward and back, and no, not out away from the body. And we do have tail articulation. Again, the tail can go up and down. That's really about it, but that's because that activates the action feature, which is a jaw snapping action feature. And of course, that's a pretty cool action feature as far as this species goes. As far as a playability standpoint goes, definitely a very nice choice, but thought I was going to fall over. It stayed, so good news as far as that goes, but again, kind of like your standard action feature you would expect. As far as a size goes, for a length from the head to the tail, about 8 inches or 20 centimeters, and then for a height to the top of those ridges, you're looking at about 3¼ inches or closing in on 8½ centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Dilophosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line in comparison to our Monolophosaurus from Mattel for the Fierce Force line, and you can definitely see that it sports the exact same size as all of the previous Monolophosaurus releases, so nothing new and crazy or amazing as far as this one goes sculpt-wise. It is exactly the same sculpt in every aspect, including size, as previous releases, but with some really cool new paint, and hopefully this will show you that. So this brand new Fierce Force version of the Monolophosaurus is another fun release, but we have had plenty of Monolophosaurus so far, so it's definitely nothing that's going to be mind-blowing or amazing. It's just another repaint. We've had plenty of repaints in this line throughout its history, and we'll have plenty more, I'm sure. But the sculpt, again, is pretty cool. It's a really nice, very highly detailed version of a Monolophosaurus. I've loved it every single time we've had it. It sports some very nice, very vibrant detailing throughout, and I don't know that I'll ever get tired of Monolophosaurus figures because we don't have too many out there, so I guess I'm okay with Mattel continuing to pour them on. This one does unfortunately sport a little sloppiness when it comes to the paintwork that I really could have done without, and I'll probably have to buy another one if I see one just to, get one that's in a little bit of a nicer paint app. But at the same time, if I display it from the left side is easily the superior side of both. You don't see any of that sloppiness around the paint in the eye, but once you see it without that sloppiness, it is a very nice looking, very appealing looking version of a Monolophosaurus, sporting some beautiful coloration. Not the best paintwork because we don't have that much, but at the same time, I feel like it definitely looks more appealing than some others that we've had in the Mattel line. So a pretty cool figure, some nice articulation, a fun action feature, fantastic sculpt, and a pretty appealing looking paint scheme. This Monolophosaurus is definitely a fun release from Mattel yet again. So if you are interested in this, I would suggest checking Target from time to time, as it's been popping up on there every once in a while. I do believe it was still available on Big Bad Toy Store as well. Or you can check in store at Target when, of course, they start to stock them. Maybe after the holiday season is gone, because the Jurassic section has been wiped out for quite some time now, in my area at least. So one of those ways should hopefully yield you the results of getting yourself this Monolophosaurus in your collection. So make sure you do that, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.